So you have got something big on your mind. Maybe you're dreaming of changing your career path, or you're weighing a huge business decision to make. It could be you're coming up with something great innovation idea which you need to discuss with your investors, or you want to meet your client with a business approach plan. You're making some good presentation with your team members where everybody gonna contribute on project and they're gonna discuss about it to kickstart things further, right? So or deciding what presentation needs to be done, what areas of content we need to talk about with the client. So many things are there, right? It could be like, it's a time for you to take your relationship to the next level, like something like, proposing to your love of your life, or starting a new beginning of your life, to start the family, right? Many things are there. Many things, like, we go through it, right? That is part of life, like everybody go through this. Whenever we face a new challenge or opportunity, we also face the fear of failure. What if I don't have what it takes? What if I will not get the things which needs to be in my favor and doesn't happen? What is going to happen? How am I going to face things? What is going to happen, right? What if our new product line which we launched and it's a huge bust? What if she says no to my love? Listen, whether you are 18 or 80, we all experience about something like this, right? That's part of life. But you shouldn't let the fear of failure hold you back from living your best life. Let's talk about what causes the fear of failure and what practical steps you can take to overcome this fear of failure. And let us think about our big goals what we have. To achieve these big goals, you should not be in a fear of failure. So let us go through it in detail, like, how we can come across, like, overcome the fear of failure. What is fear of failure? Fear of failure, or atichiphobia, is the intense feeling of anxiety or danger around messing up things, not measuring up, or being judged by other people, or not accomplished on your goals. A fear of failure takes over when someone wants to avoid feeling shame about not getting, like, the outcome what they want, or the expectation which is not met. We often fear the failure of one of events or situations, but it can also hung out, like, on in the background as a general feeling of anxiety. How is fear of failure diagnosed? It is it is the fear of, like, if the fear of failure is seriously impacting your life, it might be time to visit a counselor or a therapist to learn more about what you are experiencing. Your fear could be symptom of general anxiety or something deeper, but only a mental health professional will be able to help you to figure out what's going on, and what is that required for you to help, that you need to overcome through it. If it's a serious issues, like, when you're going through a depression and all this stuff, so it needs to be diagnosed immediately by the professionals. Let us see some of the symptoms of fear of failure. The way a fear of failure shows up really depends on the person, but it will usually have a few telltale signs, like, which we can recognize. Feeling on edge of, like, worrying about new unfamiliar situations, avoiding stressful situation completely, like, or withdrawing from opportunities what is coming to you and you're just ignoring them, such as bigger job opportunities, or fun social events, or you got some amazing project which is coming to you on your business, and you are avoiding those things. That is one of the symptoms. Feeling out of control when trying something new, experiencing physical symptoms like dizziness or raising heartbeat, sweating, or other signs like anxiety. Imaging the worst case scenarios all the time. That is also one kind of symptoms. Feeling intense self conscious about what other people might think, downplaying your plans or minimizing your success to other people. Procrastination, you start procrastinating continuously, not to do things, and you're just idle, not doing anything, no progress, getting distracted from what you need to do. Feeling discouraged about improving or changing anything in the failure. Feeling very discomfort, right? That you want to do something very important thing in the future and you are not able to plan things. Worrying that people will leave you or they will replace you with other person who is better than you, someone you think is better or more qualified than you, right? So these are symptoms which you go through it and you going into depression. What causes fear of failure? While everyone struggles with the fear of failure at some point of their life, even I had that issues fear of failure. Some point of our life, we might go through that kind of situation. Everybody goes through that kind of situation. We all have a different backstories connected to our fear. It is connected to the fear. Think about it. Your life experience is totally different from your neighbors or co-workers or your business partners, your team members. That means you probably fear of failure for a different reason than someone else is into similar situation. It is having a different scenarios for everybody to fall into fear of failure. It's good idea to think about the root cause of your fearful emotions. To get you started with, let us go through a few reasons we develop a fear of failure. See if any of these things seem to be familiar to you. So let us talk about the first thing, it's a perfectionism. Often we don't want to try something new because we are afraid of getting embarrassed or not doing the right the first time, when you're putting in your effort. And especially if we have high standards of ourselves, any overachievers are there in the place where I'm trying to compete with them, or I'm lacking skills, and those people they are very good at skills. The key to getting over perfectionism is to give yourself a permission to be a beginner, which means, yes, not doing everything perfectly on your first try. It's not important that you need to make sure everything you do it without any mistakes. You can't decide this is something which I'm doing for the first time and I can't do it perfectly. So the practice, or you're lacking with some skills, you need to develop that first, and then the perfectionism is going to play a major role for you. Now let us talk about this other part, it's going to be comparison. It's easy to fear failure, have that fear of failure when we care a ton about others, what they think, instead of focusing on who we want to become. We compare ourselves, or every time we compare with others, to people around us, but you are the only one running your race. You have got to stay focused on your lane. Keep those blinders on and charge ahead. You can't check on the other line, like what is happening there, what is happening behind me, what is happening with my neighbor, what is happening in the other project which is still not yet to start that. So you focus on one thing, first things are first, right? So don't comparison, your capabilities with others. You know what you are. If you are lacking with something, upskill that, learn that, spend time, spend good quality time, and then you can start things. And then you no need to comparison still, but if you're doing comparison also, you still feel confident that I'm prepared well, right? Now let us talk about the next point, though it is going to be about the past trauma. No one gets through life scratch free. No one. Have you seen anybody, their life is scratch free? Impossible, right? Even my life, I need to go through some scratches in my life. So you can't be a scratch free life. We have all experienced painful things in our life. It makes perfect since, it makes a lot of perfect meaningful, thought about it. It makes a perfect sense, why you might be afraid to put yourself out there again. Who wants to risk repeated things, when you made big mistakes in your life, and who wants to repeat things to happen again? The last time whatever the mistakes it's happened and you want to repeat it again, nobody wants to do that. Your past is a context, not a excuse. In other words, we can't blame what happened in our past for what we are avoiding in our present. At some point, we have to choose courage and move forward. Now, let us talk about another point, belief systems. We form our values and beliefs at a young age. You all will agree with me, right? Your family's patterns of taking and relating to each other shaped you more than you are realizing it. This gives you unique uh, uh, perspective of your life, which is good thing. But those families' beliefs can also hold us back. For example, if you grow up in a family that put everything on credit cards, can you might then you might struggle to believe you can cut them up and live a life completely without them, without the credit card. You can't. Your family has been gone through that kind of tradition, to use the credit cards, and you teach the same thing to your son or whatever, your children are going to learn the same thing, and they depend on credit cards. So that's a culture, it's going through like that. Without that you can't live. In USA, you people, they say, if you don't have a credit card, you don't have a brother. It's something like, if you have a credit card, you have a brother to support you, something like that they say. That's a belief system. Now let us talk about next point, negative thoughts. We are usually our own worst enemy. Do you agree? You probably hear all sorts of discouraging thoughts in your head about who you are and what you can or what you can't really accomplish things. You are the biggest enemy of yourself. When you hear those voices within you, take a moment to challenge those negative thoughts. Take a moment, take a deep breath, think about it. It's you are the one, who is getting all these negative things running in your mind, the negative thoughts going in your mind. Now you need to challenge yourself to stop those negative thoughts running in your mind. Instead of listening to them, swap those negative thoughts with the positive ones. You are in a fixed mindset. Transform yourself from the fixed mindset to the growth mindset. So that is what you need to do, to come out of the negative thoughts. Now let us talk about the next point, trying yourself words to your accomplishments. Accomplishment is a fast and easy place to go for a confidence boost. You should agree with this, right? It makes sense. But when you get your worst from what you do, failure can feel like a end of the world. We all need to be intentional to get our sense of self-worth from places besides our jobs and goals, like our character, our relationships, and the good we do in this world. How to overcome the fear of failure? Okay, now that we have an idea what causes the fear of failure, let's break this down into, like, couple of pieces, like, where we can make it easier to understand step by step. You can take, notepad and write down all these pointers so that you can do some contemplate on this, and, you can understand how to overcome the fear of failure. Now let us talk about the first point. Understand that everyone experience the fear. Everybody will experience the fear. Please understand this. So we should expect to feel afraid when we are doing anything meaningful or challenging or something new. Fear doesn't mean you are doing something wrong. In fact, it probably means you are doing something right. That's because the good things in life usually involve some risk, and that can definitely be scary, right? Yeah. So turning to scripture for reassurance can be helpful. We can talk about, sometimes people will pray to God, and they say, I need universe to give me signals. They do a lot of things. Or maybe, your power of love. And how does it sound to you? How does it feels to you? Is it making you to feel fear, or is it normal? If you get to know, there is a lot of happiness if I put in little effort and take little risk, and I'm sure I can keep the person very happy, and I can also be happy. The person can really understand me. The feelings are really working out. Or when I'm approaching my client, the client is understanding the project very well. I can see the signals by his expression, by the way he's asking questions, the way I handle things, right? So these are very important to understand. Now let us talk about the second point. Give yourself permission to be a beginner. Often fear keeps us from moving forward with our decisions and dreams because we want to be a perfect from the start. Everybody thinks, when I start something I need to be perfect. I don't want to make any mistakes. I want to be the perfect. I want to be the best when I'm doing something new. When I'm kickstarting the business, or when I'm startup, I'm kickstarting the business from tomorrow, I want to make sure everything will be in a perfect condition. Everything is perfect. So this is what we think, this is what we say about ourselves. Overconfidence. We want to get promoted, score 100 out of 100 all the tests. It's not possible because you're a beginner. You need to fix in your mind saying that, give a permission to yourself that you are a beginner. You have to make some mistakes. Let the mistake happen. But find out what are the mistakes you have done in past and fix things. Don't repeat the same mistake. But there is a deal. When you start something new, it's not going to be a perfect one. And that's okay. Learn. Every day is learning. Keep learning. By giving yourself permission to be a beginner, you can put aside your need to be perfect and just get started. With each small steps you take, your confidence will grow, and drive your next step. Every time you experience something new, like you got to know that you have made a mistake, you got to know that where you stand, what is lacking, what kind of skill set you are lacking. You are experiencing all these things. Now once you experienced all these things, the next day you start learning things, become an expert on that by doing some work on micro projects. Work on this, and whatever the mistakes has happened before, try to avoid them, so you will be the perfect person. And you have to imagine yourself that yes, I'm a beginner, let me do the mistakes without knowingly, like if I'm doing some mistakes, let it happen, but I'm going to fix things if I do any mistake. So if you give a thought, and if you give a permission to yourself that I'm a beginner, so things will be in a better way, it's not going to depress you. Now let us talk about the third point. Change your mindset about what failure means. Now the we need to understand here. Okay, so once, something which you are doing, and your entrepreneurial mindset, we spoke about entrepreneurial mindset once, and it was a wonderful session which we did. So you need to make sure, your entrepreneurial mindset is very important. And when you have some bad habits or bad practices, and that is affecting your mindset, your thought process, so you need to understand what is that I need to change. What kind of mindset should I implement in me. This is very important, right? With the right mindset, with the right mindset, you can do things in a proper way. Don't have a fixed mindset. Don't be yourself as an enemy. Instead, it's something like, things are teaching you. Life is teaching you, the experience is teaching you. Go through the process in business or leadership, or maybe you're taking care of team. Whatever the experience you're going through, lot of challenges, let that experience happen. If you don't go through those kind of experience, nothing is going to happen, right? You're loving someone and they said, they're rejecting you, they're avoiding you, or maybe both are in good relationship, and it was wonderful, it was a honeymoon period. All of a sudden someone ghosted you. They're not reachable, they're not picking your call, they're not responding, and nothing is happening. So you should think about, what went wrong and how I can fix things. How can I change something they might not liking in me, or something is not working out. You need to figure out things, right? So this is very important, you need to change your mindset, not to be in a fixed mindset. Always transform yourself to the growth mindset. Now let's talk about the fourth point. Talk to people with experience. When you're talking with anybody, you're talking with your team members, when you're talking with your clients, talk with an experience. One of the best things we can do when we feel afraid is talk to helpful people, people who can help you on fixing things, people who already experienced on few aspects of business challenges. Talk to them and see how what is that experience they got. And then when you got all these inputs, then you implement things and you see what is the experience you get. We have got to surround ourselves with a kind of like-minded people who are always shining, who are always share their wisdom. This could be a friend, mentor, or maybe any of your team members, or any of your competitor who is helping you to learn things, or it could be our spouse, who is helping you with some of the skills or some of the challenges, or your family member, someone is helping you. These discussions are very important. When you do these discussions, when you're sitting for the brainstorming, so many things will be fixed for you. So when you got all this experience on working on things, and with this experience you need to talk to people. A lot, a lot of time, we get stuck in our own heads, about the plans and dreams what we have, everything gets stuck because things are not working out in your favor. It's easy to get overwhelmed when you are trying to figure out big decisions on your own, but there is something about talking about your fear with people who care about you, and you have life experience that makes you, or it might takes you to easier to work things out for you. And if you are opening up someone to trust, someone who loves you and who you respect, you will get some good perspective and solid advice on next steps you take. So this is very important, you need to find all this kind of experience within you by talking to people, doing some socializing with people, understanding what project you did what, and let us do some activities. And when you do some small micro activities and events and everything, so you will get to know the experience of it, what is the depth of it, right? So this way, when you got that experience, and then you can talk to people about it. So let us talk about the fifth point: be purpose driven. If your fear is holding you back from something important, chances are, it's holding back from other people. You can help too, you can help them also, but it's still holding you back because the person is always talking negativity, and you can't take that, and it is holding you back to talk about things. When you have a strong way of saying something, communicating things, or you have a very strong purpose which can serve your client, give a strong try, so you have got to get clear on your purpose, and you want to know, with this purpose, when I'm talking, what is the purpose of my client, if you know the purpose and you're talking something which is required for your client, and that will really make sense for the client. Yes, this is my purpose and is serving me, with all the information what I need is talking about it. And a lot of questions which I had, it is cleared because he's talking something which I'm looking for. So be a purpose driven. When you're talking to the crowd, understand what is the purpose of your, the audience. You need to understand the demographic. What is the age group, what is their profession, what is that they're looking for, what is the purpose they have. So related to that, when you talk, so the crowd is interested to listen to you talk, right? So that's very important. You need to understand what is the purpose of your presentation, what is the purpose of your client, what is the purpose of that presentation, what you're going to talk about. You're talking with the investor, what is the purpose of your investor. So be a purpose driven oriented, that is very important. Even if you're facing a more personal goal, like getting into shape or working towards the career move, you are fighting for more than just yourself. Everyone around you benefits when you take good care of you, and you think about the purpose what needs to be driven, so you're going to talk about that and you're going to stick on to the subject. That's very important. Now let's talk about the sixth point: the pros and cons. If you're not journaling, okay, it's time to start. When the fear of failure keeps you stuck, whip out of the paper and the pen and start getting all the fears, writing down on the paper. Start writing on all the fears what you have, the major ones, the normal ones, or whatever the fear what you have, start writing on it. You have a relationship with someone and you're getting a fear: what happens if I continue with this person, it's too committed and too loving, too caring, and if I trust this person and continue further, it might put me into some serious trouble. So write down all the challenges. What is making you fear? What are you afraid of? Write down everything. You give your brain a chance to get It worries, like, what is it worrying about? Think clearly and then write down everything on the piece of paper. Let's say you want to make your career switch. It can be terrifying to leave your present job. You're already earning some good salary, very good salary, good bank balance every month. It's coming and falling. Your salaries are coming and falling. Good bank balance. You can lead your life whatever you want. You can be good financially. You don't have any risk. Everything is good. Now you want to switch a career. You want to career. You want to switch your career to different company, or maybe you're not. You want to quit the job or want to do a business. Quitting job and doing business. So all these things, it makes you feel really scared. Taking risk, financial risk. Moving away from home is a financial risk. Some people, you have seen, I moved out of my house and took nothing from house. Now I want to scratch things from beginner, without anything, without any money in my pocket. It's a financial risk what you're taking. When you have a good information in your mind, you can make good decision. So think about it. What I should do, what I should not do. What are the things I can do now? What are the things I can keep it pending, which I can't do now? So I'll do it later when I'm capable of doing things. So start playing out of all the scenarios. You can think of around this new opportunities, or whenever situation is in your favor and it's not making you worried, then you can talk about it, what is that I can do now, what is that I can implement things. I have a lot of things in my bucket list, I have a lot of things in my pipeline, so what is that I can do now? How can I prioritize the pipeline, whatever I have in the pipeline, how I can do it first things first. If you still have questions, you need to understand, by doing some research. Talk to people, talk to expert, talk to the people, who is already overcome through all these challenges. Give yourself multiple timelines and think about it differently, the different approach, the situation, how you can handle. In the end, you will be able to make a educated choice out of confidence without any fear. So don't fear on that. So let us talk about the seventh point. Ask what's the worst that can happen. Ask yourself, what is that the worst thing can happen to you? When you're worried about a new project, you're worried about, the business idea which you're going to implement, the innovation idea which you're going to implement, your personal goal. Maybe, you're loving someone and they're very caring, they're very lovable, and you both are doing very good with a relationship from long time, or maybe from past 2 months or 3 months, your relationship is always good, and all of a sudden the person turns to be toxic. The first thing you need to think about, how can I fix things, how can I fix the person, because it's my life. I'm going to share my life. I'm going to continue further for a long term relationship. Now, how can I fix things if the person is turning to be very toxic? If the person can be fixed, then you can go further. If it's not being fixed, or not understanding, or taking things very seriously and taking complicated issues is going to arise now and then, and you can really be happy about the with the person if things are in a proper way, but some miscommunication, misunderstanding, and that is what is eating up their mind, and they started behaving with, behaving very toxic, that could really affect you. So you need to understand, if I still try to hold that relationship, what is that the worst thing can happen when I'm trying to hold that person, still if he's a toxic person. I can fix it, I can try my best, I can make him understand. So give your best. Always give your best. Give your efforts has to be 100%. Give your complete effort. If things after giving all the 100%, don't escape. Don't ghost anybody. Don't ghost the client. Your client said, I'm gonna continue investing on your business, and all of a sudden you're ghosted the client. You're not picking the phone. You're not talking because you know that is not gonna work out. Give a try. What is the worst thing gonna happen? Talk about the challenges, talk about the, when you have challenges, when you have some weakness, make a team where they're going to be your strength of your weakness. So this is very important, right? Think something like this. Once you know you're not going to die from this kind of situation what you're going through, you know that you're not going to die with this, or nobody's going to kill you. So make a decision what is going to happen, the worst thing what it could happen. So I know, like, if this things is going to happen very worst, so why it's going to happen, so let me fix things. I need a right resources to help me. I need a right team, and I need a right skill set. Let me work on this, let me implement on those things. Ask yourself what is the worst thing it can happen to you. So don't get fear and don't get afraid of talking to people. You have a presentation to make and you're coming to the presentation, people are sitting who is very experts, who are very multimillionaires, and you are talking in front of them. What the worst thing can happen? Don't fear. You know what is going to happen, right? So you know what is going to happen, that you know very well. So fix that. You have a stage fear, fix it. You have a body language problem, fix it. You have an eye contact problem, fix it. You have a nervous problem, fix it. Practice, practice, practice. And the worst thing what you think it could happen, it will never happen anything. It will be in a better thing. It will be the best. Now, eighth point, let us write down. It's going to be about recognize the cost of not trying. Recognize yourself, like, the cost of not trying. Fear kills more dreams than failure even ever will. Like, the failure will not kill anything, but your fear is killing everything, all your dreams. Before the failure is going to happen, or whatever the failure is going to give you the bare situations, like, but your fear itself is killing all your dreams. Entire project has been dead. That's the truth. Listen, living a fear comes at a cost. Living in a fear always it comes with a cost. You do something with the fear, definitely the outcome is going to be negative. With fear you're doing something, like with fear you are going to approach someone, with fear you're trying to build a relationship with someone. It's going to cost you, like, it's going to cost you, like, it's going to be a utter flop. So why is that fear? Because you know that your character is not good, or you know that there is something wrong in my quality, there is something which I have a bad habits. These things needs to be fixed. People should feel proud of me, like, people should feel good about me, like, people should feel good when they're surrounding close to me. If that positive vibe is there, then things will be in your favor, like, you know to do feel any fear on that. Recognize the cost, what it's gonna take, like, if you're trying, what is that it's gonna cost. The cost of not trying is something very important. So you have got a choice: sit on the bench or get up and be the main character of your own life. You will experience some failure from time to time. Yes, that's the price we pay for leaving it all at on the field and giving it out the best shot. But your dreams are worth the guts and the glory. Give it a shot. Give it a try. Now let us talk about the ninth point. Learn to adjust on the fly. Learn to adjust on the fly. We often fear failure when we feel locked into doing something on our way, right? We feel locked, like, I'm stuck. And if there is only one right way to do something, or of course, like, that's feels like a lot of pressure. But learning to be flexible and adapt to challenges can help you avoid failure, or even soften the below from any mistakes we have done. We do make mistakes, right? Whether you want to do, like, taking on our physical challenges, paying off debt, applying for a new job, ask someone out for a date, will take you down to a new and uncertain path. You can't predict or control what's going to happen, but there are usually multiple ways to get something done. So be open to shifting your approach and growing your thoughts, like the approach, the way you approach, the way the thought process is. That's very important, right? Now let us talk about the 10th point. Control what you can control when even you are scared. Control what you can control when you are scared. So this is the 10th point. Nothing will build your confidence and quit your fear, like taking even tiny steps towards the things, you are afraid of. Take a tiny steps. Don't take a big step towards your goal. Make sure you break down your plans into small pieces and then implement things step by step, small micro steps. Control while understanding that some things might happen that you can't predict. Do your best to prepare. Have a plan, think about it, and focus on the positivity. It's up to you to show your fear who is the boss. Let the fear know, like, who's the boss. Don't wait until you're not scared to do the thing you want to do. One step at a time. Small micro steps. Small tiny steps, baby steps. Remember, everybody has some power. So that power is being hidden because of the fear is dominating. So control what you can control. It's very important. When whenever, you are scared, control things. And when you're looking at the big problem, break that down to small pieces and make a baby steps. So at the end, the big problem what you've been looking before, at the end it's going to look very small, and you're expert now, you're a master now, and this kind of problems is not going to bother you, and you'll never get any fear. You're not scared. Break big things down into a smaller steps. Whatever the big things you're seeing, big obstacle, big problems, big issues, break it into a small pieces, big small steps. It's easy to fear messing up on big projects, not achieving our big goals, or maybe messing up things with a relationship. Break down break down the situation into smaller. Take a bite by bite, piece by piece, smaller easy steps. The size of your fear will shrink, and it will be disappeared, and there is no any fear, there is no any problem, because your big problem what you've been seeing at the beginning, and you took a small baby steps and you made the challenge into small pieces and you fix things. At the end, the big problem is no more. The size of a fear is already shrink now. There is no place. Face your fear and move forward. This is very important, right? So this is how, we need to understand where we stand and what is happening. Is it good or is it bad? If it's bad, like, what I'm gonna do to make it good. So everything is in within you, how you take things.